Welcome to the Best Little Town Podcast, your go-to source for everything happening in the town of Bedford's local government. Whether it's new initiatives or important decisions shaping our town's future, you'll hear it right here. This podcast is dedicated to keeping our residents informed and engaged.
Good morning and welcome to the Best Little Town Podcast. It's Wednesday, June 11th. My name is Bart Warner. I have the privilege of serving as the town manager of Bedford, and this program, through the cooperation of our partners at Media Squatch, is designed to provide a recap of town activities and the workings of town council after their regular meetings. We had one just last night, so we're recording this recap today to discuss the business of the town and the community, and we'll jump right in by recounting and working through the agenda from last night's meeting. One thing worth mentioning is prior to the beginning of the regular meeting, town council met with their consultants from Raftellus. Some gentlemen named Bart Krebs and Barrett Funderburk have been evaluating our electric rates and our electric business model, and we didn't receive great news. I'll pass this along. It will be forthcoming in a public meeting later, but looks like our electric rates are going to be going up substantially. That's based on several factors that we've talked about several times. One of the biggest of which is this is a nationwide phenomenon of we're using more power than we can generate, and we haven't added generation facilities in a long time. And those of us who were taught economics understand that there's a limit to that, and we are quickly approaching that in this country overall, and we are not immune to that locally. The one question that will remain is whether those rates are applied broadly, and that's everybody gets the same increase, or they are targeted towards people who use relatively more power than other users. The folks from Raftellus will be coming back within the next couple of months to present information as part of the regular meeting, so we make sure that that is broadcast and available and recorded and on the record. This is a good time to mention that if you're interested in what the town is doing, the single best source of that information is the town council meetings, because that's where the decisions are made. We're a council manager form of government. Town council is elected to establish policy, direct things, and implement the activities of the town. They employ a staff to carry that out. I am their employee who has the responsibility for what everybody else does, but that's the way things work. If you ever hear something or wonder or hear rumor, again, the best thing to do is to come to the meetings, which are typically the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month, 7 o'clock p.m., 215 East Main Street, upstairs. If you can't make it in person, we do live stream those meetings. We also record them, and they are presented on YouTube. If you go to youtube.com, you can Google Town of Bedford, Virginia, and find all the meetings that are recorded. We also publish the written minutes of our meetings on our website, www.bedfordva.gov. And, of course, you're always welcome to tune into this podcast the day after council meetings when they occur. So, again, there was a lot of work beforehand at 5:30. That wrapped up prior to the regular meeting. The regular meeting was called to order. Council approved the minutes from previous meetings. At the beginning of the meeting, I typically provide a report to my bosses, and last night I had a few things to cover, mainly administrative notes. First off, town offices will be closed on Thursday, June 19th, in observance of the Juneteenth holiday. That's coming up next week. And also on Friday, July 4th, in observance of the Independence Day holiday. I want to go ahead and give everybody a heads up that the annual town-sponsored fireworks display will take place beginning at dusk on Thursday, July 3rd. We don't know exactly what time dusk will take place, but because we're shooting things up in the sky that require some darkness to provide some contrast, that's why we published that time. Also want to bring everybody's attention, and I did this last night at the council meeting, to the fact that we do have passenger bus service available within the town limits. That is known as the Otter Bus. It is a 16-stop loop around various parts of town on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And on Saturdays, there are 13 stops at specific locations around town, and that service operates from 10 a.m. to 4 o'clock p.m. on those days. It is operated through a grant obtained by the Bedford Community Health Foundation. Again, if you need to get somewhere, you can check out their schedule, and you don't have access to a car, catch the bus. It's also currently free to ride. That's correct. You can take the bus at no charge. That's also funded through the grant. That runs through September. For more information about the Otter Bus, I would encourage everyone just to go check them out anyway at their website, which is otterbus.com, and that's OTTERBUS.com. I concluded my report by recognizing a special guest last night who was present. That is Mr. Alec Brebner, who is the Executive Director of the Central Virginia Planning District Commission. The planning districts are assigned, they're kind of regional collaborative governments. The Commonwealth of Virginia is split up into several districts into planning districts. They serve as a mechanism for all the localities within their assigned regions to kind of get together, share ideas, find ways to collaborate. And they also offer several services on their own, such as grants, particularly in our case, administration of the Community Development and Block Grant Program. We are within a region comprised of the city of Lynchburg and then the counties of Appomattox, Amherst, Campbell, and Bedford, and then also all the towns located therein. And Mr. Brebner was kind enough just to stop by and say hello and introduce himself and pass along some information to the council member. My report being concluded, we then moved on to the portion of our meeting where we had appearances before council. That is a section of the meeting where we put up a sign-up sheet out in the lobby of the council chambers where if you want to come speak to council on, frankly, any topic of your choosing, we do allocate 3 minutes to each speaker for that purpose. The first speaker last night was Pastor John Hester from Calvary Baptist Church here in town, who was kind enough to offer a prayer on behalf of town council and the community in general. Our next speaker was Erica McFadden, who is the manager of the Farmers Market, which is downtown on Washington Street, right near its intersection with Center Street. She reported that they're seeing really good crowds there, particularly on their Saturdays when they have their formal market events. She also mentioned a Healthy Kids program sponsored by a grant from the Virginia Tech Extension Office, where eligible young people receive $15 to spend on fruits and vegetables at farmers markets. And in the process, they get to learn about how food is produced and the agricultural processes. Sounds like a really neat program. On a less happy note, Erica shared with us some concerns she has about observations of vandalism and potential vagrancy at the farmers market, and did request that we have our police department pay attention to that and increase their patrols and their vigilance. Our next speaker was Mr. Danny Kirby, who is a resident of town. Mr. Kirby spoke in reference to some social media posts that he had made and basically was just backing up the validity of those concerns he had shared in that format. Mr. Kirby is primarily concerned in this instance about our parks and their appearance. He also did, and we appreciate this, note a correction that needed to be made to the minutes of our April 22nd meeting in which he had spoken before. The official record actually had unfortunately misquoted him, and he corrected that, and our clerk, Shauna Bogus, we are sure will make that correction ASAP. We then moved on to council comments, and again, this is the opportunity for all 7 members of council to speak to whatever is on their mind and share information that they feel is relevant to you, the citizens and customers. Beginning with Dave Foster, he thanked the people who were physically present for their attendance. He also thanked the people who had spoken during appearances before council. Councilman Foster noted that there were several events in conjunction with the commemoration of the anniversary of D-Day, which of course is June 6th. He attended quite a few of those and talked about the high quality of the events sponsored by both the National D-Day Memorial Foundation and also the Bedford Boys Tribute Center located downtown. Dave is a Marine Corps veteran, but acknowledged that the birthday of the Army is coming up June 14th and expressed his best wishes to the Army on that occasion. Dave also concluded his comments by noting that Habitat for Humanity is conducting a blitz build operation at South and Bridge Streets on June 28th and 29th. And of course, we're glad to see that organization active and running within town limits. Next to speak was Councilman Dwight Evans. He likewise thanked everyone in attendance, thanked Reverend Hester for his prayers. He stated that he has been approached by several citizens in town about the possibility of legalizing golf cart traffic on our streets and asked that council consider pursuing that action. He also shared his view that council is concerned about the interests of all citizens, and they certainly appreciate all the concerns raised and brought to their attention, particularly the ones last night related to the parks and the farmers market. Vice Mayor Darrell Updike noted that he was in agreement with both Mr. Foster and Mr. Evans about the appreciation of the folks who were there. He also spoke in some more detail about the events related to the D-Day commemorations and the sacrifices made by the Bedford boys in particular. Councilman Stacey Haley likewise shared his opinion that the D-Day events were great in his opinion. He thanked Erica McFadden at the farmers market for speaking and bringing items to our attention, noted that we will certainly correct those issues. Councilman Haley also noted the excellent service provided by our fire department and the fact that they always respond and are always exhibiting the highest degree of professionalism. He noted that today, actually that's Wednesday, June 11th, the Bedford Elks Lodge and the American Legion Post are sponsoring a Flag Day observance at 11 o'clock a.m. in Centertown Plaza. So if you're listening to this and you get this in time to make it down to Centertown Plaza, you're certainly welcome to attend that meaningful observance. Councilman Todd Foreman basically said that a lot of the comments he would have made were otherwise covered by the other council members, but likewise thanked people for being physically present with us. Councilman Jay Ippolito echoed those comments, thanked Reverend Hester for his prayer, and noted the passing of a couple of citizens in particular over the past week. One is a gentleman named Mr. Hogan, who you may have observed a red Camaro parked near the railroad tracks, and that was Mr. Hogan. He used to sit and watch the trains with his Pomeranian dog, and fortunately, Mr. Hogan passed away last week. Also, Mr. Ricky Wilkerson, who was a longtime business operator of Frederick's Flowers downtown, passed away. And Councilman Ippolito asked that we would certainly remember their families in prayer and ask for their comfort. In particular, Councilman Ippolito noted that several members of council had attended a dinner event at the D-Day Memorial on June 5th. He gave a shout out to Farmhouse for providing the dinner at that event and the high quality of the food there. He also recognized that Governor Youngkin was present on June 6th and also was in Bedford yesterday to present an award to the National D-Day Memorial. That would be the Spirit of Virginia Award, which is given by the First Lady, Suzanne Youngkin. And Jay concluded by recognizing one of our young citizens, Max, who has undertaken an effort to provide random acts of kindness, and to date he has given away 175 smile bouquets. Max had appeared before council a couple of months ago to tell us that he was doing that, and it's good to see that he's really active and making good progress with that effort. Mayor Stanley concluded the council comments section by providing his input. Again, he noted the attendance at several events commemorating the D-Day landing back in June 6th and shared his view that it makes us all very proud to be part of the Bedford community and to acknowledge the sacrifices that this town has made in the past. Mayor Stanley, responding somewhat to comments and maybe some things he's heard, noted that council is actively working on plans to address all parks. The biggest challenge right now is to determine what actually needs to be done and how to do that. He did note that he does not personally view social media, so he apologized to Mr. Kirby for not readily understanding the references that he made during his comments. Next was a report of council committees. The property committee met last week on June 3rd, but those discussions took place in closed session, so there was nothing specific to report from Chairman Dave Foster. There was one revision to the agenda. We added an item of new business to accept a grant from the Virginia Risk Sharing Association. That's our insurance carrier. Council did agree to add that as an item of new business, which candidly was our only item of new business later in the agenda. Moving forward, we had two items on the consent agenda. The first was to appoint a member to fill a vacancy on the Redevelopment and Housing Authority. Mr. Roy Monk stepped up and volunteered to serve on that with a term to expire October 13th of 2027. He was unanimously appointed to do so on a motion by Councilman Haley and seconded by Councilman Foreman. The next item on the consent agenda was to fill a vacancy on the Planning Commission. Ms. Georgianne Watts stepped up and expressed an interest in serving with a term to expire March 31st of 2028. Likewise, that was unanimously approved by council. Motion was made by Vice Mayor Updike and seconded by Councilman Foreman. The one item of new business was, again, a budget amendment to accept and appropriate a grant from the Virginia Risk Sharing Association. Town of Bedford has been awarded a $4,000 safety grant by Versa, which is our insurance carrier, for installation of playground mulch at town facilities. The installation of the new mulch will assist the town in maintaining a safe play area for town residents. And when we're talking about mulch, we're not just talking about the stuff that you typically put on the edge areas of your lawn to keep weeds down and improve the looks. It's actually a very specialized product that we put on playgrounds to minimize impacts should people take a tumble, particularly our younger residents. So it's a very specialized product. We would intend to place that at our playground areas at Liberty Lake Park. Funding must be spent by June 30th. It will be installed by staff from the Public Works Department on a motion by Councilman Haley, seconded by Councilman Ippolito. Council unanimously voted to accept the grant. Vice Mayor Updike noted that the town is listening to the concerns expressed by the citizens and complimented staff on acting on this, in this case, to respond in a way that improves the safety of our park facility. The last item of new business was a closed session to discuss the town's bargaining position related to property near the Stony Creek Reservoir. I will say that before anyone gets a little excited about what that might mean, I can't say too much about the closed session itself because, again, the closed session relates to discussions between the town and another party. But essentially, we are working with the Bedford Regional Water Authority to resolve some questions about who exactly owns what in terms of the property adjacent to the Stony Creek Reservoir. I can tell you that when the town got out of the water business and assigned that to the Water Authority back in 2014, there were several parcels in addition to the reservoir itself up on Turkey Mountain that the town retained instead of transferring to the Water Authority. And frankly, we're just trying to unravel some of the complications there. There were some irregularities in terms of two separate deeds that were recorded and some certain restrictions. There also is some lingering question about who exactly owns what. And without, again, violating the provisions of the closed session itself, I can tell you we are talking about working in a positive manner with the Bedford Regional Water Authority to resolve those questions. Once we came out of closed session and prior to adjournment of last night's meeting, Mayor Stanley noted that this is rather unusual, but the reason we had to make the announcement is because it's unusual, that the regular meeting on June 24th will be canceled. That is primarily due to the fact that we are not aware of any specific items of business that need to come up. There's also some travel considerations of council and staff, and we wanted to make sure people knew that, again, it's highly unusual for us to do so. Typically, we will cancel meetings when there are conflicts that we know of with holidays, most typically in December and sometimes in November, depending on when Thanksgiving falls. But ordinarily, we meet the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, but that will not be the case this month. The June 24th meeting will not take place. The next regularly scheduled meeting will occur on July 8th at 7 o'clock p.m. But in the meantime, if there's ever any question or concern you have about our services, or certainly any need, we invite you to contact us directly. The municipal building is located at 215 East Main Street. Our regular business hours there are 8:30 to 5 for most operations. We would note that the treasurer's office does close their front door at 4:30. That's because they do several things beyond waiting to collect payments from people, and a lot of things they have to do are on a daily basis. They have to provide accounting tasks, which are fairly complex, and we give them that extra 30 minutes in the regular business hours so they can give their full attention to that. But otherwise, please come see us at 215 East Main Street, Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5. The only times we close usually are due to weather events such as snow, or in observance with holidays such as June 19th and July 4th. If you can't make it in person, you can call us at 540-587-6001. And I would also encourage you to email me directly. My email is bwarner@bedfordva.gov. That's BWARNER. I'll do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. If I don't, I'll apologize in advance and note that we're all working on several tasks that are typically reflected in our council agendas. Even though we didn't have a lot on the meeting plate last night, the depth and complexity of that, I hope, is somewhat apparent. And in the future, we're going to be talking about some significant issues such as electric rates, our electric business model, budgeting, parks, facilities. And we do have a new budget year that commences July 1st, but I will tell you, we're already beginning work on the next year's budget as soon as October. Thank you very much for joining me today and for your understanding and patience and indulgence as you work with us. We're very pleased to have the opportunity to serve this community. Bedford is a special place. We're convinced there's no place like it on earth. And personally, I can tell you there's nowhere I'd rather be. So there's several factors contributing to that, not the least of which is the wonderful folks we get to serve in terms of our neighbors, customers, and visitors. And I invite you to join me again next time in July for this podcast when we will communicate and celebrate the world's best little town.